the first week of residency, I'll never forget this. I was out at a bar with all the other interns, and there were like some surgery upper level residents there too. And one of them was just like getting drunk and like talking to us, right? And he was just like, listen, fuck all the other stuff. You know, you'll learn the book stuff, whatever, you'll learn how to do surgery. What you really need to know is what your individual on-call alcohol tolerance is. And at the time, it was unsettling. You know,
Yeah.
That's not what you want to hear the first week of residency, right?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Tony Chinqui.
And I'm Frances Mei Harden.
And welcome to Social Rounds, the podcast in which two of the happiest surgeon dropouts you'll ever meet give our unsolicited opinions on the states of medicine, the world at large, pop culture, and whatever else we happen to find interesting. And this is episode 11, and our success to this point has been simply outstanding. And I'm usually like blowing smoke about this, but honestly, you know, it's actually happening. Like, we've got day one fans. We've got fans outside of medicine, inside medicine. They're listening in their cars. They're listening while they're breastfeeding. They're listening late at night in dark rooms. They're listening on the toilet and like remembering to wash their hands. And we just want to say that we thank you for listening and just show you a little bit of appreciation. Because I've heard from quite a few people that they enjoy our vibe. So Frances Mei, have you received any delightful tales of our listeners loving the show?
Yeah, I'm excited to be growing. Like, I love the energy that you've been bringing since episode 1. You know, you guys may have caught that Tony from episode 1 was like, this show is the biggest thing since sliced bread, and we love our listeners. And it's like we were at day -10 for the show's entire lifespan. But I will say that it's invigorating to get that kind of energy from like a work collaborator. And, you know, this stuff always sounds crazy until it's true. So
yeah, we were manifesting early, and it's happening right now. I mean, people are listening, they're watching, people checking it on YouTube, seeing the little shorts. They're listening on Spotify, they're listening on Apple Podcasts. You know, they're finding it wherever they can find it.
Exactly.
And they're hanging with us.
And people love, I get a lot of notes that people are enjoying your energy, which, because I'm an only child, I'm always like, then you know, just tell him that. If you come to my door, then it better be like that you love
energy.
me.
Well, it's funny because the people who talk to me tell me that they love your energy.
I feel like we got to swap people.
Look,
give the.
All right, guys, look, we like to hear nice things about ourselves. If you're going to come to me or to Frances Mei to tell us about someone else, just tell someone else. It's really nice for us to get messages from people we don't know telling us how great we are. So do that shit. Don't tell me. Like, I like that you like who I work with. Of course, I like her too. Like, I think she's great. But like, if you're going to tell me good things, tell me about me.
Route your compliments appropriately. Like,
route them appropriate. That's the thing.
You're like, yeah, I mean, she's fine. Like, I think she's good. Sometimes she's a bit of a problem.
No, we love it. We appreciate you guys. We're happy that you're here. We're having a great time making this show, and we're going to keep doing it. So let's hop into our first segment, which is, as always, news. So this is the segment in which we give our rapid fire takes on recent inside baseball news, outside baseball news, and also whatever else we happen to find interesting. And today, for Inside Baseball, we're talking about fitness. And I'm very excited to talk about this one. So more specifically, we're talking about the step count. So we've all heard that 10,000 steps a day is the magic number for maximum health benefits, right? Like, I've been hearing that for years and years and years. Well, prepare to have your mind blown, because Dr. Chinqui is here to tell you that the 10,000 step a day goal is actually a myth. It doesn't exist. Now, that number, it was never determined by any health organization. It was actually a 1960s marketing slogan for a Japanese pedometer called the 10,000 step meter. And the reason they picked it is because the number just sounded great. It was nice. It was round. It was aspirational. And so the rest of the world just like started saying 10,000 steps a day. But one of the biggest problems with this number is that it is like psychologically super intimidating. Like 10,000 steps is like 5 miles a day. That's like adding a part-time job to your day just to walk. And it kind of creates this all or nothing mindset where, like, let's say you only hit like 4,000 steps. You feel like you failed. And then if people are trying to get fit, they just like give up. So for years, actual science has been trying to break through and tell a different and more hopeful story. So studies show significant health benefits actually start at much lower step counts. And for older adults, the gains in slashing mortality risk and, all that stuff, they actually plateau around 7,500 to 8,000 steps a day. So let's say you're going above and beyond that, you're not actually adding that much to your health benefits, except for just getting more fresh air, which we know is good. But, you guys know what I'm talking about. So anyway, to further empower you guys, a new study just came out that followed thousands of women with an average age of 72 for a decade. So these are some grown-ass women, right? And these researchers found that women at that age who hit just 4,000 steps on only 1 or 2 days out of the week cut their cardiovascular disease risk by 27% and their mortality risk or risk of death or early death by 26%. So let's reiterate, not every day, not 10,000 steps, just 4,000 steps, maybe on a Saturday and a Tuesday. That had a massive protective effect. And so the lead researcher said, what really matters is your total volume of steps over the week, not a perfect daily streak. And so you do a few thousand here, a couple thousand here, but most of all, you just get off the couch. And the important thing is also remembering that it's the type of walking that you do that counts. So just, puttering around your house, you could get like 3,000 steps a day, but that's not really the sort of steps that are going to push you forward. You have to like have steps that are part of going for a walk, where you don't need to be like power walking and like doing all of that, but just intentionally walking outside. That's where you're going to really get the benefits. So I like learning this because I joined a gym a couple of years ago. And part of the plan was just like, change your diet and also like get your 10,000 steps a day and we're going to watch you do it and all that sort of stuff. And so I do a lot of walking. I rarely get to like 10,000, but maybe I'm hanging around 9, or 8. I try to do it every day. But just knowing this is really, it's really encouraging, I found. So Frances Mei, like, what's your take on this? How's your fitness? What's your fitness like?
I actually feel like this is just a continuation of the interview for the heist. Like, what a long-winded way to just be like, you're just now every question you ask me.
every question is just like, okay, are you going to get us all arrested when we heist the Louvre?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just, even the way you phrase it, you're like,
where's
anyway.
Your cardio?
Yeah, what's your fitness like? Do you like how, what's your regular activity level like? And then next week you're going to be like, long piece of outside baseball. What do you think about that? Can you keep secrets pretty well? Like, what's your ability to keep a secret? And I'm like, Tony, has this just been a long tryout the whole time? All right.
Well, I mean, we won't know until the day comes. But I would love for you to answer the question. I mean, now I got to know this
have
answer.
to tell exactly. Yeah. Now I have to tell you, I remember reading about this. I do love debunking medical myths. I love that you just did that for us. I think that even emphasizing the way that especially doctors, like I really do think that we're prone to this all or nothing thinking. It's really easy to get down on yourself. It's easy to look at your journal or your bullet journal calendar and then be like, well, I fell off the wagon for a week. So does anything even mean anything anymore? I'm not going to like pick this good habit back up. And so, this much more forgiving like step count and just the fact that, it just matters that you're moving towards the goal and not like just throw out the baby with the bathwater if you don't hit 10K. steps. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's amazing. I personally love walking. I'm very pro walking. Ironically, I got a dog in part because I was like, this is gonna be amazing and we're gonna walk so much. He's like kind of an indoor dog. He wants to watch Netflix even more than I want to watch Netflix. So like he inspired us all to spend like more time on the couch. That's on Beignet.
It's a
But
good dog. Mm-hmm.
you know, I do love walking. I think that what's interesting for me is that even when I was younger, one of my favorite activities in the world with friends was like just literally walk and talk. And because of moving a lot for work and like now living in a place where, yeah, I don't have like a lot of friends in person, the best I can do is maybe try to catch somebody on the phone during a walk. But realistically, it's always alone. And usually you can't, you know, get your girlfriends on the phone. Everyone's got to work and has a life. So I guess that I just share that because I even love walking as a social activity. And I've noticed recently like yearning for that. But I still walk, and sometimes, you know, what's really cool is there are walking meditations, you know, for people who are trying to like multitask. So I will do that sometimes if I don't want to have the ability to carve out other meditation time. So I think that those are really fun. And then, yeah, obviously some days I just put like Rage Against the Machine on and I go walk.
No, you must walk in rage. I think to be able to walk in rage is a skill that we at our organization value as we narrow down candidates for our next thievery. I wanted to know, because I know this happened to me. Like, I wasn't always looking after my health. It's consequence of one, just being young and not having to have to worry about it. And also like residency just, you know, took it out of me. And I was very much not taking care of my body during residency. And so, you know, I had some moments, like some come to Jesus moments where I was like, man, I gotta turn some shit around, um, and figure some things out. I don't know if you ever had any moments like that.
Yep. I definitely have had my share of like health scares. Residency is such a funny time for me to even reflect back on because, like you, I took no care of myself. I mean, I legitimately was like, if something terrible happens to this like meat sack body, then I probably don't have to be a resident anymore. Like, honest, I mean, I'm just saying that's literally how I like approached the day and approached my relationship with my body back then. I think that in terms of health scares, yeah, I just that compound, I had to pay a price. By really the end of residency, I was dealing with health issues. They didn't magically get better as an attending or anything like that. And so, yeah, I don't want to be too long-winded about it, but I mean, I was like spending much more time suddenly at the hospital, at the GI doctor, at the cardiologist, all sorts of stuff. And I think that for me, the biggest scare and what no one would believe is that on my employee health screen, they did like blood testing, you know, for all of us. That's just obviously to get like better insurance premiums. But I did this and it was my first time like getting, honestly, I think labs drawn, especially of this nature. And the triglycerides were 900.
Sounds high.
Yeah. I was like Googling.
Yeah, I don't know the ranges here. It sounds like a big number that we shouldn't strive for.
Exactly. But I don't know what the upper limit of normal is. What, 150? So that's not good. So,
That's,
but
yeah,
here,
it's suboptimal. Yeah.
well, here's what stood out. When I Googled it, they were like starting at and then above 900, you can get acute spontaneous pancreatitis, which I was
That's
like,
also, guys, if you don't know, pancreatitis, one of the worst things you can have going on. Unbelievably painful.
thankfully I did, but I was like, oh, that seems dangerous. And anyway, it was so funny because the first thing that the doctors thought, they were like, did you do it right? Did you do it fasting? I had my labs drawn at like 5 a.m., like before the OR on a work day. I was like, no, I did do it fasting. Like, I know what fasting is. And they were like, you didn't eat like a Snickers right before you did this? I was like, no, I didn't eat my regular 5 a.m. Snickers. Anyway, they were like, let's just redraw. I'm sure it's a lab error. On the redraw, 1200.
Whoa.
Yes. So that is what bought me my ticket to get a CT, coronary arteries, get a cardiologist, get put on medications. Yeah. So it was a whole thing.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely a wake up call. And yeah, I mean, I do think for better or for worse, a lot of people who I have had the ability to connect with who have like changed their life for the better. Like they've done something, they went out and they like did something different, they took a risk, they took a chance. It's not uncommon at all that either that person themselves had a health scare or their partner did. Like truly, when I think of all the examples, like it's either themselves or their partner, and something really like reminded them of their own mortality, and consequently they like really changed their life. And I do think that that whole health scare made it easier for me to change my life
hmm
and change
Yeah.
careers.
Totally. Well, we're glad you're here. First of all, you remain living and amongst us, and you made some changes. And it's you're right. Like it's tough when you got to have those moments where everything kind of comes into focus, and those can often be scary. I think for me, I didn't have a scary moment. I didn't like have a health scare. I think it was like over time, you know. Stuff was just kind of building up. Like I spent most of my adult life with obstructive sleep apnea. And I got diagnosed while I was in residency. And part of it was anatomical. Like I had like huge tonsils and adenoids. My chairwoman did my surgery. And I was just, it was, that was a whole thing. But then I thought like, okay, yeah, I'm cured. And then, a few months later, I'm told by several partners that yeah, you'd be snoring pretty loud down there. And I was like, am I like holding my breath and like doing that thing? And they're like, yeah, a little bit, but like nothing crazy. I was like, fuck, man, I thought I like just knocked this stuff out. But that was, by the end of residency, I had probably gained, I don't know, 30, 40 pounds, maybe more, but, like I'm not paying attention. I'm not thinking of myself as like, oh, I'm overweight. When I went in to like get scoped again to like see like, hey, do we need to do the surgery again? I know adenoids can grow back. Like what's going on? And they're like, nah, man, you got redundant tissue in your throat, which, is our polite way in ENT of saying that your neck is fat. And so I was just like, don't tell me I got redundant. That's what I tell everybody else. They got redundant tissue. And then the
I'm
answer
the one
to
who
that,
tells.
I'm
Yeah,
the one who
don't
tells.
come to me with that.
Don't tell me my neck's fat. But that's what it was. And I fought that for a while. I was like, okay, like I'll like work out and like, try to do all that stuff. But, nothing really moved the needle on the weight. Even though I was like after residency, like had more time, I was like doing my thing. But then I met, my soon to be wife, and, we moved in together and like all this sort of stuff. And, she can't sleep through the snoring. She had earplugs. It was louder than the earplugs. She was like, you're not holding your breath, but it's loud. Like it's shaking the room loud. And so like we couldn't sleep in the same room anymore because it was so loud. And I was like, come on, man. Like I got to be able to, what am I doing wrong here? And it took so long until I was like pretty much like after 40 years old to realize like the issue wasn't the working out. And it was like I had a really poor relationship with food that I didn't know was a bad relationship with food for my entire life. And kind of my whole family did, but we don't know because it's just part of the culture of our house. And it's really, you don't really think about, the portions and that sort of thing. Like my mom was raised in a house where, like it's one of those houses where like, you have to finish your plate no matter how big your plate is because, there's people starving, et cetera. Right. And so, her and her brothers had massive weight issues as they got older and other health issues. and that sort of thing like kind of trickled down. Um, and so to really kind of confront the fact that, oh wow, every portion of every meal I ever have, even if I start eating healthy, I'm eating a massive plate of whatever's healthy. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that much food. And understanding that was really actually hard for me. And just like it's something, in the process of doing that stuff that just never quite clicked. But when it did click and I had to do like the hard work of like recognizing, you know, uh, my relationship with food and how it wasn't healthy, um, it's what kind of turned things around. And that just, I mean, it was decades coming. Like it's really something that was really, really difficult that I had to like I shared with my family, and we kind of all were talking about this sort of stuff, and just the ways that we would eat and the schedules on which we would eat that would just kind of were natural to us, but weren't really good for our bodies and for our health going forward. And so that was kind of my story. Kind of a
That's
more a
yeah.
slower burn story, I think.
No, thank you for sharing. I think that that is just super helpful discourse for a lot of us to think about. And
Yeah.
I would be interested to know if you feel like moving out of the US, a place famous for exacerbating portion size
hmm
issues, did that help? And like, because culturally, I would think.
I would say yes, definitely. Like here in England is, I mean, England is not as generally healthy as like France.
Right.
But
Sunday
uh
roast
yeah,
vibes,
but
right?
still like the quality of the food here is much better. Like they do have regulations on like, how you make certain foods. That's why, the junk foods or even like the fast foods here in England, they taste different than they do in America because they're actually quite a bit healthier. They're trying to kill you significantly less. And so, the food quality here, I think, has been really helpful. I live in a part of England where kind of fresh food, fruits,
Wow.
like fresh produce, like the stuff is made here in these farms that are 5 minutes from my house. And so that's what you get at the grocery. And it's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
So all that stuff has really helped.
Wow. No, I love it. And the last thing I'll say about that, because again, I really appreciate you sharing. I think that what stands out to me is that even when I looked at my life, like I came out of residency, I had all these like maladaptive coping mechanisms. I had all these insane, like self soothing, food being one of them. My relationship with food was pretty crazy coming out of training. But what's been really interesting and clarifying now in the years and years past training, what you touched on, which is that my relationship to things and some of my like predilection for bad coping mechanisms preceded residency. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it is interesting. Like, yeah, we can talk all day. And I do think that residency is like a pressure cooker and it has its own problems. And yeah, but you know, there are things that maybe I thought I could just blame residency. And then when I honestly examined my life, they preceded it.
hmm No, I always say that residency is kind of the perfect storm for uh, breaking down whatever coping mechanisms, whatever masks, whatever ways that we had learned to protect ourselves from the things that really need addressing. Residency is excellent at stripping those things away. And when it strips those things away, we can either look at what's underneath, or we can find new ways to not look at them. But it can be a powerful time to examine yourself. And that's the end of our self-empowerment segment. We've told you too much. We've shared, we've overshared. The point is, take care of yourself, take care of the bod, and don't be discouraged. There's a lot of things to debunk out there. We hope that debunking even just this little myth today would be helpful and get you out there. Get off the couch. Not too much because, the dog wants you there, but, we'll do what we can. Anyway, next, outside baseball news. Now, we've got some good news in outside baseball. There's new life at the Burning Man Festival. So, Kayla and Casey Thompson, that's a cute, couple Two Ks. They were sleeping, a alliterative couple at Burning Man. They were sleeping in their RV in the Nevada desert at the festival when Kayla woke up with some terrible cramping. Okay, no big deal, right? Maybe some bad like desert cactus cookie, whatever the fuck y'all eat in the I don't know. But anyway, she goes to the bathroom to like, work on stuff. And a few minutes later, surprise, what she'd been working on was birthing a baby. Now, she had no idea she was pregnant. She was 37 weeks pregnant, apparently. But there it is. And of course, her husband, Casey, freaks out. He runs outside of the RV, starts yelling for help. And you know what? It is help that he receives because within minutes, really useful festival goers show up, including a neonatal care nurse, a pediatrician, and an OB-GYN who, by the way, showed up wearing only his underwear and remained in only his underwear for the duration of this story. So the OB, who never gave his name for the story, maybe like a wise move, but maybe a missed opportunity, delivered the placenta. Maureen O'Reilly, the neonatal nurse, did gorilla Apgars and kept that baby warm with a hot water bottle until the festival volunteers arrived in their 4x4s to get the baby and mom to safety via helicopter. So this is the power of the desert community, and I kind of love it. So, Frances Mei, I'm continuing my trend here. This is going to be great because I think this is good for team building. But this is obviously some feel-good shit, right? But it got me thinking about incapacitation. Now, we know that one or more or all of the people in this story, including the medical professionals, they had to be high on some recreational substances, right? So, and they did their job. And look at that.
Yeah.
Everyone lived. So my question for you, what is the limit of drug and or alcohol use at which you would finally have to admit you cannot do your job?
Okay, again, you're not beating the heist accusations.
No,
like, hey,
I'm embracing the heist. We got to go deeper now.
Yeah.
These are the real heist
you're like,
questions.
You're like, if I had to assemble a team, I'd need to know. Okay, so disclaimer, obviously, because like up until recently, a few months ago, I was a full-time medical professional. Sure. And I did think about this stuff a lot. Like I take it really seriously. So when I was on call, I wouldn't drink. Mm-hmm. I will say that when we were in training, what we were taught, and I agree with philosophically, that we could have one drink. Like you can have one drink on call. And for a adult who like doesn't have medical conditions and is a healthy weight, like they're not taking medicines that can't be taken with alcohol or stuff like that. I mean, I think that even that idea makes people uncomfortable, but I will just share that I don't think that that's unreasonable. Personally, I am such a person who always wants to err on the side of caution. So that's why I had like really strict boundaries for myself around this stuff.
Here's my question though. So I totally understand like if you're on duty, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you're out in the wild.
Well, and so, yeah, I will say for this hypothetical scenario, this is so detrimental to the brand. This shit's so detrimental to the brand. But I will admit, I have not done drugs. So I can't
She's
speak
clean, guys.
Whoa, don't say it like that. It makes me sound so uncool.
You're just being honest. That's who you are. You're not out here messing around.
I mean, I literally told you I went trick-or-treating with my cat as a kid. It's like that person is not getting invited to places where there are drugs. Like I'll just tell you right now, that person doesn't know anyone who has drugs and they're not like crossing paths.
The cat child trick-or-treating alone does not have the street connects. That's not who she grew up to be, guys.
Right. So I can't comment on that. But for alcohol, I think, and honestly, for drug, I don't know what that experience is like. But I'm just saying, I actually think that I could do my job. I could, like we've put in our 10,000 expert hours and stuff. I actually think I could show up probably 6 drinks in and in an emergency that I could like lock in and stay cool and accomplish a task. Like I actually think that I could do that. I wouldn't, there's obviously ethical questions about like, would you do that? But I'm saying I actually think I could. So I think that that's possible. The one thing that I'll cite really quick, because the only situation that happened to me similar is that on a long haul flight back from Paris, during residency, there was a medical emergency halfway through, and I'd had like 2 glasses of wine maybe in the in the preceding 12 hours, and I literally get shaken awake mid-flight out of dead sleep, and it's Colin, and he's jostling me, and he was like, "Hey, like, I'm so sorry to wake you. Like, I'm sure you are not happy." But he was like, "I let them like ask for a doctor like 3 times before waking you up, like, and there's nobody else on the plane." So he
That's
jostled me
rarely the
awake.
case. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, just what an unlucky, patient. And so it was me. They get an ENT resident. Interestingly, it was like an allergic reaction probably to the food. So I was very helpful. That was like actually pretty good for me. I got to, and so I used the plane's medical kit. Person was like totally fine, just more freaked out, but it was very calming.
Were you still feeling the wine though?
I'm just saying, I wasn't like my bet. Well, but that's like exactly. But like a few hours ago, I'd had wine. We're mid-flight. I mean, I'm like jet lagged in that scenario. I'm just saying, like, I wasn't extremely fresh and I wasn't on the clock. But there is literally like we probably have the same skill that first responders have, I imagine, or like a firefighter. Like if you're a firefighter and you're off duty and you're like really messed up at Burning Man, I actually bet those people can just like lock in. Like when you have hit your expert hours, and that the last thing I want to mention really quickly, and hopefully this incentivizes people to help when they ask for a doctor on board. They gave me tons of free stuff. Like I was just sitting in regular coach and they brought me like the first class amenities bag. They brought 3 bottles of just unopened wine. It was like airplane wine, but they afterwards they were like, "Thanks so much for helping out," dumped all these treats, and we were like, "Woohoo."
If they really loved you, they should have just put you and Colin into first class seats.
Yeah, kick out people.
Don't bring you the first class toothpaste. That's bullshit. They got to improve. Okay, so here are my thoughts. I think they're very similar to yours. Here is what I have heard and I think is true. Like, if you can't do your job after a couple drinks or a couple cocktails, you got the wrong job, right?
Yeah,
like,
you're not that good at it.
You're not that good at your job, right? Like, you should be able to do your job. Not telling people just be borderline, just do your job buzzed or anything. And that's not what I'm saying. But like you were saying, if you got in your 10,000 hours, like there's a certain degree of muscle memory that like, even if it's not muscle memory, it's also thinking memory that just kicks in when you need it to kick in. Like I've been the the emergency physician like on an Amtrak train, like when I had just finished drinking my second gin and tonic. And I'm just like, they need me. I'm gonna go just see what's going on. And I was really effective, like if I'd had 4, maybe I would have sat that out. Like I was like, I won't be helpful on my feet to anybody. But if I've had personally, when I've had like 2 cocktails, I can make sure an airway's okay. Like I can do my ABCs, you know what I'm saying? But,
right.
I think that for me, that's my limit. I had the first week of residency. I'll never forget this. I was out at a bar with all the other interns, and there were like some surgery upper level residents there too. And one of them was just like getting drunk and like talking to us, right? And he was just like, "Listen, fuck all the other stuff. You'll learn the book stuff, whatever. You'll learn how to do surgery. What you really need to know is what your individual on-call alcohol tolerance is, because it's different for everybody. And some of us can have 1 glass of wine. Some of us can have 3 cocktails. I don't know, but just figure yours out." And at the time, it was unsettling. That's not what you want to hear the first week of residency, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, you don't want to be drinking while you're on call, but it gets you thinking about, okay, well, what are the limits here? And, what do I push? Like, maybe like for alcohol, like that's, you figure out your limit, like, so that on a plane, whether to get up or not. But if you've taken an edible before you got on that plane, do you answer that call? Maybe not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If you took some cocaine before that call, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you get I don't know, maybe get sharper off the cocaine and you could do your job just like really fast. And
That's what I was
but
going to say. I thought it made you.
don't
I
know.
just watched Wolf of Wall Street for the first time, and like the
Yeah.
cocaine made them strong. It made them smart. No,
They
I'm
were
just kidding.
very they were very good at scamming the stock market high on cocaine.
And that's the thing is, because just to clarify, because I know that this sounds bad, because I was like, well, I could probably have 6 drinks and be really and show up and lock in.
I
And
didn't circle back.
Tony was like, it's 2. Tony, I'm not saying in the real world, in the ethical scenario. I am saying that if there was a game show where they paid reality TV contestants and it was like a controlled, safe, ethical environment, I could probably do a lot of stuff and then still lock in and like perform my job well.
I agree. I think the point is we can lock in. You can lock in if necessary.
Yeah, like in the emergency. I mean, this Burning Man emergency.
Yeah. Burning Man emergency. If I'm like, tripping out on whatever they do at Burning Man, but somebody needs a doctor and I know I'm the one there, if I can walk straight, I'm going to try. If I find that I fall over before I get there, then I might stay on the ground.
We're going to have to ask Josh to cut out the part where I say that I've never been offered drugs. But I will admit, I have not done drugs. Because I'm I'm such a nerd. No, I'm just kidding. You can leave it in, Josh.
It's okay to be nerds. It's okay to be squares. I'm not going to call anybody a loser.
So detrimental to the brand.
We're keeping the brand tight. It's okay to be whoever you are. We love you here, and you gotta you stay. We're gonna rock with you regardless. Anyway, we'll stop hating on the losers among us for now and move on to social rounds.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is where we become your life attendings, because it's abundantly clear that many of you out there are in desperate need of guidance. And we've got the kind of wisdom that only comes from running out of fucks. I've lost all credibility now. The people listening are going to be like, wow, you think I'm going to take advice from someone who's never done drugs? Get out of here.
We're going to take advice from the lonely cat child. That's who you're going to take advice from, guys. Throwback to last week. Listen up to it. This week, today, the question is, how do you get patients to like you? And I like this question because we hear tales all the time of patients who feel like their doctors don't listen, that they don't have enough time for them, and that they get talked at, they get talked over, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not only bad for patient care for lots of reasons, but it's also bad for business since a lot of our compensation is increasingly tied to patient satisfaction. So if they are not satisfied, it's going to affect your pocket. So we're going to try and teach you guys super quickly how, at the very least, not to be assholes. So, Frances Mei, did your patients like you?
Yes, and I don't want to beat a dead horse with my charisma book. It's called The Charisma Myth, but I do think
Available wherever books are sold, guys. It'll take you to heights you could never imagine.
I don't get like royalties from it or anything. I don't know that lady, but I think that it is super important. I think it's important, and not because patient satisfaction was tied. Actually, I don't think it was tied to my revenue, but like, for many of us, that's why we went into medicine. I am the surgeon who like always actually really liked clinic. And certainly as conditions deteriorated in the residency OR, like I like clinic. I like connecting with people. Couple quick things that I always did. Number one, I never typed while we were talking. Like from a charting standpoint, like the computer was not up. I had a physical clipboard and I scratched out little notes on it if needed, but then I walked out of the room at the end of the visit and I was very quick and efficient with notes. Like I would write it immediately. I didn't batch do them at the end of the day or anything, never took notes home with me. I was able to just be efficient enough to have like 2 minutes to kind of get a nice note down and then
all in
move
the name
to
of
the next
eye
page.
contact, guys. Eye contact.
Yeah, and even, when you're on the computer, it means usually by definition you're going to at least be sitting like orthogonal to the person. Sometimes straight up your back is almost to the patient. Like I did not do it. That doesn't mean sometimes I'd be logged in for images. We'd like look at CTs together and stuff, but that is like a nice team activity. Like I just was straight up not ever typing while I was talking to people. The other thing that I would say is that I love the tip of writing down little personalized facts about people. Like I would say, oh, this person got a new Bernie's, new addition to the family. Like at the end of my history. So at the end of HPI, if there's one line about something interesting, just got a Bernice named Sid.
That is exactly what I would do too. And I learned that from one of my attendings. I would read their notes and see that. And I was like, that's brilliant, because it doesn't take much, but it's in the record. So next time you see them, you look at their old note, they'll be like, oh, they just got a new cat. I can ask them about how the cat is. Or they got 2 kids. One just started kindergarten.
Yeah.
Let me follow up on that. It's a brilliant, tiny thing that can make those moments that you have with the patients to feel to the patient like so much more meaningful.
Yep. And like, honestly, I, just because of where I was at, like in Missouri and now in Tennessee, like I learned a lot about cool things, because they'd be like, oh, I farm. Here's some of the crops I farm. So literally the last line would be like, has 100 acres, farms X, Y, and Z, and just like all this fun stuff. The last tip that I would say, because again, like regionally, I do think that it matters. So in terms of like just appreciating some of this like local culture, like again, I didn't come in with a ton of farm knowledge, but like very happy to learn about it and genuinely pretty interested. Like I find Farmer's Almanac and stuff like that more interesting than I thought I would. I would have thought maybe zero amount interesting, but these guys and career farmers are very cool. What I would do is I would sometimes tell them like, oh, I know I don't look it, but I do speak good old boy. And it would, but like in a collegial way to kind of like ease them along. And yes, people always laughed. They were like, are you, what are you, Chinese cowboy? Like, what's up? But honestly,
but they know that
yeah,
about this culture that you're serving, like this
yes.
community that you're serving. You have done the work to understand it.
Well, and just, yeah, exactly. Like respect it. And yes, I'm from Chicago. Yes, I'm Chinese. But it's a privilege to like be your doctor. So I think that if you just come at it from that standpoint, people can tell if you do or not, and they're going to feel that.
Yeah. And I think, guys, like, I think that for a lot of folks, you're worried, like, how much can I really connect? I don't have the time. Like, you have 15 minutes oftentimes to see a patient, right? Even if they're a new patient, maybe you get a little more, but maybe you only get 15 minutes. And so, regardless of what you do, the patient's going to complain that they didn't get enough time with doctors. But no, that's not true, because it's about how you use that 15 minutes. Like Frances Mei was saying, like if you are taking your HPI, if you spend the time not looking at the computer and just being there, talking to the person at the distance that's comfortable, getting that eye contact, that makes them feel like the meeting, they're getting more of your time. Like I did type, but I can type and look at you. I can type something while also talking about something else. And so, that's a skill that I personally have. And so I would always be looking at someone, even as I'm like typing little things here and there, not getting like caught up in the screen. But yeah, like take the time to look, take the 2 seconds to like ask about their life. Find out that one thing, because everybody is coming from something or going to something else. So you can always ask like just those little bits, keep track of them. And all those little things help for the patient to feel that 15 minutes is way more than 15 minutes. And when they feel like they're getting more time with the doctor, inevitably the satisfaction goes up. So keep that in mind. Like, what can you do in those 15 minutes to make it feel like more than 15 minutes? And I think you'll be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, it's just also about making people feel seen. And again, this pays dividends. Like Hopefully Tony has convinced you this is important, because in some cases it's tied to your compensation, but also just like, again,
just in general,
if you want to be a more effective person,
if you want to be a good doctor to folks, and good doctor, a good person to talk to in
like
general.
a good friend to people and a good stranger, like out and about, like, again, hopefully some of those things pique your interest and you're like, yeah, that would be nice if I could move about the world with more ease and connection.
I want more strangers to know how to connect with me when I meet you out in the real world. Like, don't be a weirdo. Just like be present and be slightly interested. And don't be creepy. Like, you can find the balance. It's not hard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, you know that's what we need. When it's heist time, we need someone just act fucking normal. Just be cool. Like, seriously, don't.
Guys, you don't know how much mileage we're going to get out of this heist thing. Like, it's going to be a recurring theme for several episodes yet. And I know you love it. But anyway, with all of that wisdom and knowledge, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I do. I think that it gives us clear vision. I think it's the thing that we've always been building towards. We didn't know it before. We know it now. Like, social rounds ending in a heist makes perfect sense. The other thing that I think needs to happen is for social rounds to go to Burning Man.
Oh, man.
Test out some theories.
Guys, I think that's the next step. I think it's the logical next step, honestly. Even before, this is pre-heist next step.
It's like team bonding.
Yeah, team bonding at Burning Man. Get into a medical emergency. And we'll see what happens. Or we'll just talk to people about that sort of thing. And like, I don't even know what people do at Burning Man. Is it
I have
music?
no idea.
They just listen to stuff, or like, is there art?
I think it's just desert. I think it's just like dust.
They just like
there's a
kick
sculpture.
It in the desert.
I have no idea.
Man, well, so we're losers, guys. We don't go to these we don't know what's happening at these hip, festivals, but we know how to give you reasonably sound advice. I think, throughout this episode, I think we did it good. I think we did it again. It's another legendary episode of Social Rounds. What do you think? Did we nail it? Did we crush it like one more time for the 11th straight time?
Yes, exactly. And I do think, it's not too late for us. That's very mission aligned for us. It's not too late. You can always reinvent yourself. Yeah, I was this friendless child with one cat and no drugs, but I could be, a person with one cat and some drugs.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. For legal purposes, I'm totally kidding.
She's kidding.
This is satire. If you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a review. Check out our website, hippocratic-collective.com, for more shows and content like this. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.